Hi guys, in today's video I'm going to share my 7 tips for staying warm while camping. Stick around. Thanks for sticking around, guys. If this is your first time joining me, welcome to Aeetos Outdoors. My name is David. This channel is all about my journey into the outdoors. So whether it's camping, like I am today, hiking, backpacking, canoeing, fishing, whatever it is, if those sound like things you're interested in, then please click the subscribe button down here. Turn on notifications to be notified when I release a new video. Right now I'm releasing videos once a week on a Wednesday. So, my 7 tips for staying warm while camping. So, tip number 1, layers. Layers while you're camping. Layers aren't just for staying warm while you're outside, they also work for staying warm while inside in your tent. So, generally in the outdoors you want to avoid cotton because cotton loses all its heat retention properties when it's wet. Wool, however, is the opposite. It doesn't lose its heat retention properties. So I would say get some wool base layers. You know, put a fleece on over the top if you have a puffy jacket. Like if you have a down jacket, you can put that on over the top. Just layer up to stay warm. Tip number 2 is your accessories. Wear a toque to keep your head warm, to stop your heat loss through your head. If your extremities get cold, if your fingers get cold, wear gloves. If your feet get cold, oh, disgusting, bare feet. If your feet get cold, put some nice thick wool socks on. If you find that, you know, this kind of exposed area gets cold, get a buff or a scarf or something like that. Put that on to keep as much of your skin covered as possible. So tip number 2 is your accessories, your toques, your gloves, your socks, etc. Tip number 3. And tip number 3 and 4 may seem a little counterintuitive, but tip number 3 is have a hot drink before you go to bed. A hot chocolate, that's my choice normally. Have a nice hot chocolate. It'll give you some energy so your body can keep you warm, but it's also going to warm you up from the inside. So that hot liquid that you're drinking in is going to warm you up from the inside. Then tip number 4 is, well, pee before you go to bed so you don't have to get out of bed and lose that warmth that you have. But if you are in bed and you wake up in the middle of the night and you need to pee, then pee. Because, well, not in your tent, obviously, but get up and go for a pee. Because your body will be keeping that pee that's inside you at your body temperature. And once that pee gets out, the energy that's being expended the energy that was being expended to keep it at that temperature will keep the rest of you warm. So if you do have to pee in the middle of the night, then just bite the bullet, get up and go for a pee. So that was 3 and 4. 3 is drink a hot drink before you go to bed, then pee, then get into bed. And if you do have to pee, tip number 4 is get up and pee. Tip number 5 is having the right gear. So I use the Snug Pack Jungle Blanket, which is rated to, I think it's about 5 degrees C. Where I am here, I think the temperatures last night probably dropped down to about 10 degrees C. So I would have been relatively warm in the blanket. If I was at the top of a mountain, however, I probably would have been really cold. So pick the right gear for where you're going. I tend to sleep really hot, which is why I favor this blanket. I also get a little bit claustrophobic in sleeping bags. So the blanket for me is great. You know, if I am getting warm, I can kick out a leg or whatever. And if I'm cold, I can just straight burrito up in it and be nice and snuggly. Also your sleeping pad, you know, make sure that's got a good temperature rating. And yeah. Make sure your sleeping pad has a good temperature rating to keep you warm, and make sure your sleeping bag is at the right comfort level, the right temperature rating as well to keep you warm. So tip number 5 is gear. Tip number 6 is positioning of your tent. So right now we are camped on a beach right next to a lake. Not going to be the warmest place because we have a huge body of water right next to us. However, we are sheltered by the trees, so if there's wind, it's not going to affect us as much as, say, people that are camping maybe on the point, where they're going to get buffeted by that wind and it's going to whip away all that. It's going to whip away any warm air. So think about where you are putting your tent. Generally, sheltered positions are better. You don't want to be exposed. Also, next to bodies of water tend to be colder. You also have to deal with bugs. I remember reading that you don't want to camp at the bottom of a valley because the cold air will actually settle down there. So that's something to bear in mind. So tip number 6 is where you position your tent. And then tip number 7 is do a little bit of exercise before you get into your sleeping bag. So you've had your hot drink, you've gone for a pee, jog on the spot, do some squats, something like that, just to get your blood flowing, to get your muscles working a bit, and you'll start generating heat. So when you get into your sleeping bag, that heat is going to stay with you in your sleeping bag or your sleep system, whatever you're sleeping in. One caveat to this is you don't want to do so much exercise you start sweating, because then you will cool down. The sweat will cool you down, you will be wet, it will not be fun, you might smell. So don't do so much exercise that you sweat, but just do a little bit. As I said, jog on the spot for 30 seconds, do some squats, something like that, just to get the blood flowing and the muscles moving. So 1 was layers, 2 was accessories, hats, gloves, buffs, socks, etc. 3 was hot drink before you go to bed. 4 was pee before you go to bed, and if you do have to pee in the middle of the night, just get up and pee. 5 was your gear. Make sure you have the appropriate gear for the temperatures that you're expecting. 6 was positioning of your tent, so put your tent in the right place to give you the best chance of staying warm. 7 is a little bit of exercise. And now, the bonus 8th tip. This is a free tip from me to you. The bonus 8th tip. If you are really cold, boil some water, put it into your water bottle, bring it into your tent as a hot water bottle. If you have a metal water bottle, you may run the risk of burning yourself, so put it into a sock or wrap it in your buff or a schmog or something like this, but wrap it up so you don't burn yourself. So you can do that with your water bottle. Also, if you have a plastic water bottle, just be careful because you don't want to melt it. So, for example, I use these smart water bottles. Probably wouldn't put hot water in these because they will melt. However, I used to use a metal water bottle that would work great. If you don't have a water bottle that you can use, maybe you only have plastic water bottles, then if you have had a fire, very carefully pick up one of the rocks that you've had around your fire. It will have absorbed a lot of heat from the fire. Do exactly the same thing. Wrap it in a schmog, a buff, something like this. Wrap it in another piece of clothing and bring it in with you as a hot water or a hot rock, really. So bring it in with you as a hot rock. So those were my 7 tips plus bonus 8th tip for you. I hope you have enjoyed this. I hope that some of these tips help keep you warm in the outdoors. If you have any tips that I've missed, please share them down below in the comments. If you've enjoyed this video, then please give it a thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe, share it with your friends, and I will see you again very, very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.